On today's episode, Phil and I talk about moving from D&D 5e to D&D 2024.
Welcome to Bards and Barrels. Before we get into today's topic, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the latest from us. Now, on to today's big question. Should we be moving our current campaign from D&D 5e into D&D 2024?
Man, that's a long and convoluted question.
It's a big one.
I think gut reaction here, first of all, is we're probably not going to get into talking too deeply about mechanics in this episode. This is more just our reaction to whether we're going to move our campaign into D&D 2024. So let's start with that. But initial thoughts here, Phil, I don't know. I think it's going to end up being like an all or nothing. If we had a whole party, everybody had the books and understood how D&D 2024 was going to work, sure, let's go. With kind of the broken knowledge, books aren't even out yet. Of course, they're on pre-order. I just don't know. It's very hard to tell at this point.
I think getting ready for our campaign to re-pick up again as well. I thought about it. I'm like, okay, is this the time, right? We've kind of been on this hiatus of our normal campaign. We're getting ready to jump back in. We're jumping in at 13th level. Like,
right.
That's 13 levels worth of changes potentially that we'd have to figure out and retcon back.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, it's like anytime, like, let's say you want to do a one shot and you want to jump in as a level 5 character, right? It's like you have to learn 5 levels worth of things for a character before you can really play that one shot. So it's like, if you switched at this point, you're right. That's 13 levels of character you have to go back and figure out. Maybe some of your spells are still there. Maybe some of your spells are still not there anymore.
And what if some of your class features even changed?
Absolutely.
That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. And it certainly seems like a lot of the classes have changed. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But there's some things in there that would probably make it really hard to change an existing campaign.
So I will say, there is no right answer here, right? Do what's right for your party at your table. I do have a couple opinions. So one of my first is just cost, right? We've already sunk quite a few dollars into, the 5e system as it stands. And it goes back and forth as far as Wizards saying, hey, there's changes, and then there's, they're not that significant. It's not going to impact that much the way you play the game. And, where does that land?
I think a common opinion that seems to be out there right now is this is a way for Wizards to develop another revenue stream, right? So it's like there's changes, but there's not so many changes that they're calling this, edition 6 or 5.5. They're just calling it D&D 2024 or whatever it is, right? But all of us have invested considerable amounts of money, $30 to $50, depending on where you bought your books, and that's just for the core rule books, right? So we're not even talking about the other things that Wizards is going to do from here on out. So it's a big investment for people where without seeing it and reading page by page, only getting the nuggets they're giving us, it's hard to tell whether that investment's going to be worth it or not.
I am curious too, as they start to put out new adventures after D&D 2024 comes out. The encounters and such that are built into those,
right?
Are they no longer going to be balanced if you're still playing off of your 5e rule set?
Right.
And I just don't know. I don't think there's enough that we have at this point in time to be able to make those determinations, but I kind of assume they're going to try to force people over.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. And it's like they've said several times that D&D 2024 is backward compatible with 5e. You can say that all day, but until you get in there and start playing it with your characters in your campaign, it's going to be really hard to tell whether it's the right fit. And do you want to invest the money before you find that out or not?
I mean, I think there's so much additional material out there too that you can take the 5e system and already drop it into, right? Mm-hmm. There are so many third-party players out there that have produced material for it.
For sure.
You might have costs sunk there too. You may be playing 5e rules in a totally different campaign setting, style. You may not even be playing the, classes that exist in 5e.
Yeah.
I do think, as much as they've said there's not going to be that many changes, some of them have kind of started to surface, right? And I know specifically, Ross, you love playing Paladins.
Yes.
And have noticed that there's there's a change in there that's kind of significant. You
Yeah.
want to share that a little bit?
So paladins specifically, well, there's several changes to paladins, but the main one is to their smite and how the action economy works around smite. So prior, you used to be able to you would have two attacks on an action, and then what you would be able to do is smite on each one of those when you hit with them. Now that smite costs you a bonus action, and so you're only really able to do those on one of the attacks, and because of that, it changes how you might play the game.
Arguably, it almost changes our class review a little bit.
Oh yeah, I think it changes all of our class reviews. So if anybody's has gone through our podcast section and listened to our class reviews, a lot of those have already changed. They're already out of date, and they're only maybe a year old. The oldest ones are maybe a year old.
Depending when you're watching this, we have a couple of those to wrap up. Just know those are probably going to be on the 5e system when you
Right.
listen to
Yes.
I do want to hit on what ultimately are we going to do with our campaign? And right now, where I'm sitting, and I guess I'll ask the players on Saturday, but where I'm sitting right now is that I don't think we move right now. As 13th level characters, basically all the way through a source adventure already, a published adventure, getting ready to go into a little bit of homebrew. I just think it's too much on top of everything else.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, the books aren't out yet. So it's like we're starting this and then they're not even out yet to switch to. But on top of that, it's one of those things where it's like if everybody in your party has the books and understands how to play their character and how these changes are going to affect your campaign, great, go. Make that switch. That's your decision as a group. If you have one player who wants to move to 2024 while everybody else is on 5e, if that's somebody you could maybe trust to like understand and play their character without help from the DM side, great, go for it. But if not, I would probably make sure that everybody at your table is playing one or the other.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I would say maybe if you're getting ready to start a new campaign and you can wait till the books come out, maybe your players especially are getting ready to maybe invest some money in the game, it may be worth waiting for the new source books. I could see that potentially happening. Even if we were going to start a brand new campaign where we're all at, I know a lot of our players have invested heavily in 5e stuff. I still probably wouldn't move us.
Right. And it's again, it's one of those weird in between things where it's like it's not a full session change. There's not a ton. So is it worth making the jump? I don't know that it is as of right now, as of today when you're watching this video, probably. I don't know if it's worth switching yet. Yeah. And hopefully we'll revisit this, in a year and we can answer this a little bit better.
Eventually one of us will get one and then we'll
yes,
have to
correct.
decide if it's worth it or not. But
absolutely we will. So let us know what your party is thinking. Are you going to make the switch or not? But as always, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Otherwise, we will see you on the next episode.